Welcome everyone to the Southwest 155th Terrace Neighborhood Meeting, Traffic Calming Meeting. Thank you so much for being here this evening. My name is Stacy Rivet. I'm with the City of Beaverton and Public Works and Transportation Engineering. We also have a presenter this evening, Tony Chow, who's a transportation project engineer, and we'll also have Jabra joining us pretty soon, who's the city traffic engineer. Tony will be going through different traffic calming ideas for your neighborhood this evening, and he'll kind of be going through a PowerPoint. So it will be a little bit long, but just hang in there. And if you have any questions, please hold your questions for the very end, and then we'll be sure to answer them. So right now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Again, thank you so much everyone for being here this evening. We're happy to have you, and we'll go ahead and start. And Tony, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen?
Okay.
Okay.
I can see you really quite perfectly.
Great. Just 1 second, please. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, Tony, go ahead. And again, thanks so much, everyone, for being here. Southwest 155th Terrace between Shoals Ferry Road and Southwest Snowy Owl Lane.
All right, next slide, please. So everyone, this is the project area for Southwest 155th Terrace between Snowy Owl and Shoals Ferry. So if you're in the black shaded area, you have a voice in this process. And then you also can provide feedback on the traffic calming options and also their placement in that project segment. Next slide. So in this PowerPoint, we'll define what's traffic calming, what are the reasons for traffic calming, and the common traffic calming techniques and advantages and disadvantages of each one. Next slide. So what is traffic calming? It's a physical change to a street to reduce speed and car dominance. It's designed and located to keep traffic on the arterials and try to keep them off the side streets. It will control the behavior of drivers using a neighborhood street using traffic calming device. Okay, next slide. So what are the reasons for traffic calming? It reduces vehicle speed, reduce the number of vehicle trips and cut through traffic, safety, encouraging biking, walking, and transit. And it makes the street a lot more pleasant and a lot more friendly to all users, and a lot more pleasant in general. So what's common traffic calming techniques? We have gateway treatment, which is a median or a curb extension at the entrance to a neighborhood. Striping, roundabouts or traffic circle, lane narrowing, speed humps, speed cushions, curb extensions, and our newest option, which is speed display signs. So we'll go for each option, tell you about the advantages and disadvantages, along with showing you what it looks like in real life. So here in this gateway treatment, you'll see a median with landscaping, and then with a differentiated pavement that will tell you where the crosswalk is, along with where the stop zone, where someone should slow down and someone should slow down moving up to proper speed limits, the sign speed. You also see the curb features, the pedestrian sidewalk, and this really like a really pleasant looking like entrance to a neighborhood. Next slide. So here's the other one, which is a median, along with turn lanes, bike lanes, and the same thing, crosswalk feature for pedestrians. And this is a signalized location. Next slide. So here's the third one. You can see there's a speed hump being mixed with a median along with landscaping. So this is an option where you can combine gateway treatment with speed humps or other kind of traffic calming measures. Next slide. So advantages includes It identifies a neighborhood and changes the environment from arterial to residential. Reduce entry speed. Reduce the pedestrian crossing distance, which increase pedestrian safety. It provides landscaping and give the neighborhood a sense of identity, something that can showcase and show off the neighborhood in a positive way. So disadvantages include maintenance, with the responsibility of maintenance and the upkeep of the landscaping. It's higher construction costs. So here's our second option, which is striping. So as you can see, there's bike lane on both sides, along with the differentiated pavement and the center line in the middle. And you can see crosswalk ahead to further ahead of this location. Next slide. So here's the second option where you see a center line, a bike lane, and landscaping and sidewalks on the edge of the road. Next slide. So the advantages of striping include it's inexpensive. It may reduce speed. It can increase the safety of cyclists and pedestrians with the edge treatment, like the bike lanes, the landscaping, and the sidewalk. And it's low maintenance. Disadvantages include it may not be as effective as something that's physical on the road. So here's a third option, which is traffic circles. So this is a Sorrento. As you can see, there's a traffic circle with median in a roundabout with landscaping and the median signs. You also see the median, the median striping, sidewalks, and the landscaping on the side of the roundabout. So a vehicle entering the roundabout have to yield to somebody inside the roundabout. Next slide. So this location is unusual. This is at Hill and 155th. It's stop sign control because of a special request, and it was approved by Traffic Commission. So if a roundabout is installed in 155th Avenue, you will not see stop control, you will see yield control. You can also see the curb entry, the crosswalk, and the crosswalk island where a pedestrian can wait before crossing the roundabout. Next slide. So here's in the estuary neighborhood, it's a traffic circle, so it's a lot smaller than the roundabout. So there'll be a center line, the pavement, the differentiated pavement for the pedestrian to cross, along with a really small traffic circle with landscaping. Next slide. And this is a similar location, a really small traffic circle with stop bar, the landscaping, the pedestrian curb ramp and the crosswalk features, and the landscape in the middle of the traffic circle. Next slide. So it can reduce crashes significantly compared to stop signs and other kinds of traffic control, reduce speed, and then it can also increase the speed reduction zone, so make it safer for pedestrians and cyclists. And it can provide landscaping. And the next slide. And it's cheaper to maintain than other kind of traffic control measures. It provides equal access to all users, including drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians. And then as mentioned before, cyclists. And it does not restrict movement, but just makes it a little bit more difficult because whoever's inside the roundabout has right of way. And it's really effective at multi-leg intersections, even three-legged intersections. But they also have disadvantages. It may be restricted for large vehicle if not designed properly. It requires additional signing and lighting, additional right-of-way, and initial safety issue because drivers are not used to seeing a roundabout, so they may see something they may be shocked by initially. And also maintenance if it's landscape. And it's higher construction costs. So here's a other option we have, which is lane narrowing, which is your curb extension with the rain garden feature, the stop bar, the pedestrian curb ramp at the corner for pedestrian to cross, along with the lighting. So it narrows the road, makes it like it's a little bit slower when people enter your neighborhood. Next slide. Here's the second one with a median, the bike lanes, and the landscape islands, and also the curb, the sidewalks at the corners for pedestrians to cross. Next slide. And here's one with a concrete island without landscaping, and also have the center line marking, and also has the pedestrian crossing features at the corners. And here's a other one with a median, a stop bar, and the pedestrian crossing features. You can also see a speed hump further ahead of this location. So here's the advantages. So the first one is minor inconvenience to drivers and local traffic. Good for pedestrian because it's safer for them to cross. It can provide landscaping and also slows traffic without affecting emergency response. And it's also really effective when using a series of other types of traffic calming measures. But it also has disadvantages. It's only partially effective. It could be unfriendly to cyclists if we do not accommodate them. So we have to think about them when we design these measures. And it's also conflict between opposing driver if it's not designed properly. And then wherever the curb extension occur, you will lose parking. So that's something that you have to take into account. So here's a really common traffic calming measure we have, which is speed humps. So this one functions as a raised crosswalk for pedestrian to cross. You can also see the bike lane, center lane, and the curb ramp for pedestrians to cross. So this is a special one where the speed hump becomes a crosswalk in essence. Next slide. And here's one combined with a median and a crosswalk. It has landscape median, the pedestrian friendly features, and then once again the speed hump function as a crosswalk. And here's one that doesn't function as a crosswalk. So it's a speed hump that extends across the whole entire roadway. And it can fit in between driveways really well. And here's a similar location. So same thing, it fits in right between a driveway and it stretches across the whole road. And here's one of a newer one, which is speed cushions. So the emergency vehicle, like an ambulance, can pass through the middle, but a smaller vehicle cannot go through. So a passenger vehicle cannot go through the middle without at least hitting one of the bumps. Next slide. And here's one that combines with a median and a center lane striping. So here's the advantages. It reduces vehicle speed in the vicinity of a hump, and it's usually placed in 300 to 500 feet spacing. It's self-enforcing, and it's relatively cheap. But it also has disadvantages. It can create noise if there's loose items in your vehicle. If not designed properly, drivers can try to avoid them. So we always try to make sure it covers the whole road. And then also we have to take into account the emergency response. And it can also impact drainage. And then drivers may speed up between the humps. So that's something that if it's not designed properly, we have to watch out for. And it can also increase traffic volumes on neighborhood streets. And it requires signage. Here's one more that's kind of like a lane narrowing, which is curb extension. So you can see at the corner, there's a bulb out extension to the curb. There's landscaping. There's a pedestrian crosswalks along with the crosswalk striping. Next slide. And here's a similar location with the curb, the bulb out, where the corner sticks out. So a pedestrian it makes it a lot safer for pedestrians to cross the road, and drivers can see them a lot better. Next slide. And here's a similar location, same feature. The corner is extended, and there's pedestrian-friendly features. And then also you can see the speed hump ahead of the intersection. So here's the advantages. It can be really pleasing looking if it's landscape. It's good for pedestrians. And it can be used in combination with other types of measure like traffic medians. It can be used with speed humps. It can even be used with striping. The disadvantages. Once it's similar to lane narrowing or curb extension, it can be unfriendly to cyclists if not designed properly. And then landscaping, we have to make sure that whatever landscaping we place at the corners cannot affect the sight distance, because we don't want to create accidents when there's no accident beforehand. And it also increased maintenance. And it's higher construction costs. And here's some newest option on Sexton Mountain Drive. So it's a speed display sign, so you can see the solar panel on top of the display sign, the speed limit sign, and the sign will flash us to tell you if you're traveling the speed limit or not. And it will also tell you to slow down if you're not going quick enough, if you're going too quickly. And you can also see the bike lane and center lane striping in the middle of the road, along with the median ahead of the speed display sign. So here's the advantages. It reduces vehicle speed and doesn't increase crashes, and it's low maintenance. But disadvantages. It's higher construction costs. It may require additional right-of-way. And it's not as effective as something that's more physical on the road, something that you can see or feel on the road. So here's what a speed hump sign looks like in real life. Next slide. And here's a fire truck going through the speed cushions with no issues. Next slide. So now Jabra will cover the traffic calming program and the next steps and your role as a neighbor in this process. Jabra, are you ready?
Great job, Tony.
Thank you. Mr. Kasha, are you there?
I am, and okay. I have my video. But, can you see me or not?
Yeah, we can see you and hear you.
Perfect. Yep, we can see you perfectly.
Good. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for making the time and attending this meeting. My name is Jabra Kasho. I'm the city transportation engineer. This portion of the meeting, we're going to go over the process. How did we get to this point, and what other points we need to take or steps to go through the program and having the project constructed on your street. The traffic calming program is a phased program. Phase 1 is information sharing and coordination with the police. And what happened is we get a written request from anybody requesting traffic calming on the street. And the minute we get the request, we coordinate with the police to do some enforcement, because most of the drivers who drive the street are the neighbors who live around that area. And the police, sometimes they do traditional enforcement. A police vehicle will be there or a motorcycle. Sometimes they deploy the smart trailer, which is the trailer that tells you what your speed is. When we try these things, after we try it for a couple of weeks or so, then city staff will go out and do a speed study on the street. And if the 85th percentile speed, which is 85% of the drivers drive at or below the speed, is 5 miles over the posted speed limit, then the street will qualify for the program. And the case with your street, the 85th percentile speed was 5 miles or over the posted speed limit. That's why it qualified for the program. And every year we get requests from all over the city. And we go through step 1 and then determining if the street qualifies or not for the many applications or requests that we get. Phase 2 is the eligibility criteria. The minute we figure out who qualifies for the program, In the past and pre-COVID, we used to send a petition, a paper petition to the requester. And the requester will go around the neighborhood and collect signatures. And people who live on the project area, we define what the project area is, where the requester will collect signatures. And typically it is the homes that are facing the street itself. And then we go 250 feet on the side streets. So it used to be that one person will go around, collect signatures, and 51% of the people who live in that project area must say, yes, we would like to have a traffic calming program on the street. Due to COVID, we did this petition by mail. So the city sent a card out asking people, do you want to start a program or not? And they'll sign the card and bring it back. So from your neighborhood, we received the 51% required to start a program. As I mentioned, we get many applications and many petitions from all over the city. So the minute we get the petitions in, we rank each street and we have a ranking criteria. If you are interested in these things, it's available on the city's website for traffic calming. So the ranking is based on how high the speed is. Does the neighborhood have sidewalks or not? Is there a school on the street or not? Pedestrian activity. So all these things are considered with the ranking. So when we got your request and petition back, we did rank your street, and your street ranked number 2 from all the applications that we got this year. So that's why we're here, and we're going to start working on a plan for the street. This is phase 2. Now phase 3 is working on the plan and implementing the plan later on. So we will be working with you in future meeting on coming up with the plan that the neighborhood would like to have. Some people, they like speed humps, some they like islands, but things as Tori explained, sometimes you have an island, you have to take parking away. And people get upset sometimes when they want to take parking away, they would like to have something else. So when we work on the plan, we would like you to be really vocal about those things that we propose on the street. And we'll work with you on picking the devices. If you don't like it, please speak up. And the reason I'm saying this, because the plan has to receive 67% approval rate from the people who live in the neighborhood area. And let's say we send out 100 cards, response cards, we must receive 67 cards back with the yes option checked on it. Also, you could abstain. If the person abstains, then that address will be taken out of the total. So the total will be reduced by 1. Who can vote on the plan? Every resident will have only one person can vote. So you get only one card and you could vote on the plan. If the property is a rental, then the renter and the owner will each receive a card. So both can vote on the plan. So that's why if we don't get the card back, it's an automatic no. That's why I encourage you when we work on the plan, if you see anything you don't like, please speak up. Because sometimes at meetings, people say, yeah, we want this, we like this, but they don't want to speak up because maybe they don't want to speak in front of the neighbors, that objecting. So then they'll get the card and they say, hey, I don't want to vote for the plan, and they won't mail their card even. And typically when we send the packet will have a copy of the plan. It will have a cover letter explaining and a yellow card that has 3 options on it: yes, no, or abstain, and a prepaid return envelope. So all what you need to do, check the box, sign the card, put it in that return envelope and drop it in the mail. Recently, we've been having some trouble, get that 7%. We had 2 neighborhoods we worked with last year, and both of them failed because they couldn't get that 67%. One was close to 50, the other one was below 50. So the project did not move on. So that's I keep emphasizing. If you don't like anything about what we propose during these meetings, please speak up. Sometimes people, they're all for speed humps, but the minute it's in front of their home, they say, no, I don't want it. So for those reasons, we like you to participate in selecting the devices, and hopefully we'll move through and we'll get that 67% required for the plan. This is not where it stops. After we get that 67%, the Traffic Commission will hold the hearing on it. And during the hearing, anybody could come testify for or against the plan. But so far, I've never seen a plan that got 67 and did not move forward. So hopefully we'll work with the neighborhood to come up with a good plan and finish the process and get this project constructed. Like I mentioned, the Traffic Commission, after that Traffic Commission hearing, it will go to council, and council will be on consent agenda, and it will just move forward for construction. If you have any questions, please use the chat, and we are here to answer any questions you have. And thank you for listening, and thank you for being in this meeting.
Okay, well, thank you, Tony and Jabra. Great job explaining the different traffic calming techniques and then also the program. So what we'll do now, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And then it does look like we have at least one person that would like to speak. So I will go ahead and unmute you in just one moment here. Okay, Mr. Ben Johnson. Hello, my name is Ben Johnson at 15558 Southwest Wren Lane. I'm also a member of the Westmont HOA Board of Directors. I would appreciate a chance to speak shortly about the feedback I have and the feedback I have heard from our HOA members, as well as a question, ask a question. So we're gonna go ahead and answer that live. And Ben, I am going to allow you to speak. That's the button, that's what it says, allow you to talk. So I'm going to go ahead and press that now. Go ahead and begin speaking.
Great. Thank you very much for allowing me to address you tonight. And thank you for having this meeting. I've lived here now for over 2 years, and I'm right here on Wren, right near 155th Terrace. As you already mentioned, I'm a member of the HOA Board of Directors, and this is an issue that we talked about at our latest meeting. It's very important to us. We would ask that, especially me, would ask that you look at maybe 2 objectives when you consider the plan for our street. The first is, you were talking about the gateway. A lot of us believe that 155th, compared to a lot of other similar developments, other similar streets, it doesn't have a gateway feeling at all. There's no bike lanes, there's no signs, no striping, no. So I would hope that in your overall plan that you would really maybe look at that. I know that there's really no concern about losing parking spaces because we are over. We had a recent permit issue with a separate issue, and we have plenty of parking, plenty of public parking through this whole development. So losing some spaces for some bike lanes or lane narrowing I know would not be something that would be viewed negatively. We have a lot of bicyclists that use 155th Terrace, and having bike lanes to link to Shoals Ferry would be very important to many of the members here. And then on the issue of traffic, obviously it's a street that has a lot of speeding. So I know there's a lot of people concerned because we have a lot of pedestrian traffic, a lot of bicycle traffic. There's a lot of people concerned about the speeds. So we would just hope that you would also look at those two objectives. First, the gateway, and also the speeding. And again, you had mentioned something about bike lanes, but it's something that I just keep hearing coming up from people about, especially compared to other developments in the area, how there's just no bike lanes on 155th Terrace. And to get to that 67% that Jabra had mentioned, I think to get some popular things in there like bike lanes would really help to get there. My question about that 67%, because that's my really only concern, is I know you guys will do a great job, have a great plan. I know people will want to do these things. But my concern with the 67% is people that just don't return them. And do you see that a lot where you get a lot of yeses, barely any no's, but you just get a lot of people that just don't return them?
Recently, it's been the case. I mean, we've been doing this for many years, and some neighborhoods, we got up to like 92%. Wow. An average is around 72, 77, somewhere there. But recently, there is some hesitation in sending the cards back. I think it's a change. I mean, nowadays, people don't check their mail every day. Most of them, they do their, billing is online, and that I'm speculating. I'm thinking that's why it's not as popular as it used to be. So we're trying everything. The last two projects we had, we looked at the addresses and who did not return their cards, and we did send another card twice. And we only got, the first time maybe we got 5 back. The second time we got 1 or 2 back. So to be honest with you, I don't know what else to do.
Would you encourage maybe any strategies that, obviously with the pandemic, it's hard to knock on doors, but maybe flyers or things like that to,
Yeah, when the time comes, in the past, we used to ask the requester to form a group, and they'll go knock at doors. And if somebody tells them, I lost my card or I need another one, we will mail them a new card. But we cannot give them cards to ask them to sign because, sometimes people push too much or they feel timid and they'll sign the card. So we send the card back, and we will work with the neighborhood to the last minute. I mean, I did hand deliver some cards a few times. You could send flyers. You could do whatever you like to encourage people to send their cards back. And we could send you the list of the addresses that we send the cards to. So you'll target each home instead of sending flyers to everyone in the neighborhood. It's just the people who are voting on the plan.
That would be great, if our HOA could get a list. I don't mind if someone votes no. That's their right, to vote no. But what I mind is just, nobody voting and then the project, goes down. But so yes, if I can definitely email you later, and we can touch base on that, because if we could get a list, the HOA, of who is involved in the voting, so that we could do some flyers, some follow-ups to just make sure everybody's aware that the issue needs to be voted on, and I would appreciate that.
I'm glad you're willing to help and to do this, because it will help a lot to get the required percentage.
Great.
And the plan, we work with the people who attend the meeting. Staff will not, propose. We can't tell you, yeah, this thing needs to go here or there. What we do is we divide the street into 350 feet section, and each section needs to have some type of device. It could be speed humps, it could be islands, it could be, a gateway treatment. But also we will be mentioning what will happen if you install such device. We look at the street, how wide is it? Does it take parking? Does it restrict movement? Maybe we need to move it, we'll work with the neighborhood on it. So the plan basically will come up from people who attend the meetings. I mean, they have to say, if other people does not participate, it means they don't care about the project, and whatever comes in, comes in. So, but we will work with the people who attend the meetings and the neighborhood to come up with the plan. And the minute we could come up with different versions of the plan, but at the end, we need to pick one. And we could blend between plans if people want to do this at the end. But we need to pick one at the end. And that's what will go to an open house. We will have an open house to show the plan and get some feedback from people who attend the open house. Because if they didn't have a chance in developing the plan, at least they can come and comment on the plan, and we'll consider these comments. If we see there's a lot of resistance to the plan or pushback, or people are unhappy, we'll come back to the drawing board to try to adjust it. It doesn't happen often, but there is potential it could happen. If everything goes well, that's when we'll just move on to the voting, and then I hope we'll get that 67% and go to the Traffic Commission for final approval.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your efforts. I know that everybody that I speak to, I obviously haven't spoken to everybody, but everybody that I speak to is concerned about the traffic speeds, as well as just the gateway treatment, making our street more of an inviting gateway to our community, because I just think it needs some issues, some things. And like I had mentioned, the bike lanes I know would be popular with a lot of people. So I just hope that's something you consider. And thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, for the bike lanes, typically on local streets, we don't park bike lanes. Bike lanes are marked on collector streets or arterials like Schultz Ferry. But you could do like a shoulder line. It looks like a bike lane, but it's not. But still people can park in it. When the time comes to work on the plan, that will be next meeting. We'll work on these things and bring it up. We'll discuss it. We'll work on it. So we're not. Also, if you've seen something somewhere else that we did not talk about, that Tony did not mention in his presentation, we're willing to consider it as long as it makes sense and it will work. So we're open to that. And the city goal is to have a successful plan that will move forward for construction. I mean, that's our goal.
Perfect. Thank you, Ben. And if you have some more questions, that's just fine as well. We do have, Ben, did you get a chance to ask questions that you wanted to? Otherwise, we're going to move on to a couple other questions here.
Yes, I have. Thank you very much for your time on that.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next question is, when will we get notified to be able to have a vote?
So there'll be at least 2 more neighborhood meetings, and at least one virtual open house. So most likely you'll receive a petition card in your mail, most likely in July, so about 3 months later.
Okay, great. I have another question from Zach. We have not received any cards. Moved at 15551 Southwest Thrush Lane in February of 2021. Can you please send us one? Thank you.
So regarding the cards, once again, you'll be mailed at the end of the process. So if you did receive a flyer or receive a notification to attend this meeting, then you're in the project area, which means you will receive a card in July. So if you did not receive a flyer, then email us, and then we can work with you to see if we can include you in the project area.
May I comment, Tony?
Mhm.
Yeah, if you're outside the project area, like I mentioned, the project area is all the homes along the street and 250 feet on the side street, if there is a side street connecting to that street. So if you're outside that 250 feet, past the 250 feet, you will not be able to vote on the plan. But if the neighborhood would like to expand the area of voting, it's okay with us, but it's going to be really make it more difficult to get that 67%. The more we keep adding homes, we're going to add everybody to that point, to the end point. So it's not just selective through the neighborhood. It will just continue growing, both sides of the street, on the side street. So we don't encourage or advise to do it this way.
Thank you, Jabra. We don't have any questions right now in the Q&A, or if anybody would like to speak as Ben Johnson did, you're welcome to kind of like raise your hand. Oh, good, we have another question in the Q&A. And don't be shy here. This is really helpful to us so that we can make sure that we answer your questions in this process. So again, we really thank everybody for being here this evening. Next question or comment. If this is approved, we would appreciate having the apartment complex east of 155th and Shoals remove the tree behind the cyclone fence that obstructs our view.
No, we cannot ask them to remove the tree. It's on their property. And the only time we could ask to remove a tree if it's near an intersection and it's within the vision triangle. It means that drivers at the intersection cannot see because of the tree. And that's where the city will send code services out and ask them to cut the tree. If it's along this, I know your street pretty well, so I know where that fence is. So it's on the side, it doesn't bother any intersection or, driver's view or anything. So it's gonna be really, we don't have the authority to ask them to cut the tree down.
The person is saying that it's the view when making a right turn safely. It's like obstructing some kind of a view.
So the best thing would be to. Sorry, go ahead, Jabra.
If it's at the intersection, we'll check it out. But if it's just in past Jules Ferry Road, I mean, if you go like in maybe 30 feet or so, it doesn't bother anybody. But we will take a look at it. This is separate than the traffic calming plan or project. This we'll take a look at it. Regardless, the plan make it through or not.
Are there any other questions? Maybe we'll take just a few more minutes, see if there's any other questions about any of these traffic calming treatments or techniques, I should say, or just any general questions about traffic calming. And so, or maybe even when the next meeting is. Tony, I can't remember if you mentioned when the next meeting date might be.
It'll likely be the second Thursday of May, which will be May. Let me pull my calendar 1 second.
I think that's May 13th.
May 13th, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. And that works well for me as well.
Yeah, May 13th. That's correct. It'll be the same time, 6 p.m. virtually.
Okay, we'll give folks just a few more minutes here in case they have any questions to type in or type in the chat. Oh, we have somebody that would like to speak. I will go ahead, and this is for Esther. I will go ahead and allow you to talk. I'm going to click the button now. Go ahead, Esther.
Hello, my name is Esther. I do not know if within the 250 boundary for those who can sign up that card, because I'm way up by Finch and Wren. However, my main questions is regarding the entry from Shores Ferry coming in. You're facing west, so you're turning right, and there's that fence corner, and I think the previous question was probably related a little bit to that because it feels like a blind spot. It's also a super tight turning right, and also because the entryway is kind of narrow, when there's a vehicle waiting to get on Shores Ferry, it can be tricky trying to slow down and turning in. So you have to be very careful. So my question is, when this plan is being made to change the overall placement of lines or whatever plan that is eventually approved, is there a consideration to kind of maybe push the fence a little further down? I know that's an apartment and it's their own property, but does the city consider such an adjustment for us?
Yeah, the fence was put in place because of the drop off on the side. If some pedestrian decide to walk on that side, so they will not fall down. That's why the fence is there. So it's really difficult, to say, yeah, we're gonna move the fence. It's for safety. That's why it's there.
Okay. And would there be an option then of extending on the other side then? Because that would be probably easier. Is there that option at all? That's to widen that part, or maybe the slowing of the speed will assist with the entry?
I mean, at the entry, if people are trying to be past the center line of the street, what we could do, we could add a center line near the intersection. And that center line will define where you can be. So it will be easier to make a right turn from Schultz Ferry to the street. I mean, that's one treatment that will make it better.
Okay, thank you. I do appreciate the response.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you, Esther. Good question. Good question. We have another question here from Marco. They said they joined late, but will there be a bike lane on 155th?
As I mentioned, somebody asked about it just a few minutes ago. We don't mark bike lanes on local streets because people can bike in the middle of the street if they want, the traffic is not that high on it. We only mark bike lanes on arterials, such as Schultz Ferry Road, or collectors like Horizon or Teal. That's where we mark bike lanes. What we could do, we could mark a shorter line where the parking area is, so it will narrow the street down, and this will reduce speeds too.
Thank you, Jabra. Another question, kind of dovetailing into Esther's question. Sam says, to her point, the west side of 155th Terrace, Shoals Ferry, is already owned by Beaverton. Tract B, Westmont. Would be easy to widen the 155th intersection.
The city will not widen 155th because it's wide enough for a local street. And actually, it's the widest section of the standards that we have. I believe it's 34 feet wide. So that's plenty. No, we will not be widening the street.
Okay. Thank you, Jabra. Any other questions or any other folks who would like to speak? You've all done a wonderful job this evening, asking some really great questions, and so we appreciate it.
I also want to make a comment about the widening. The wider the street, the higher the speeds are, because it starts feeling like a collector or arterial, and that's when drivers start picking up speed because it's open. So with traffic calming, we try to choke things down. That's why we use sometimes striping or islands, or but also speed humps are good devices to slow traffic down.
We'll go ahead and just wait another minute or two to see if there are any other questions that pop up. Okay. Well, I think this concludes our meeting this evening for the Southwest 155th Terrace traffic calming meeting, neighborhood meeting. So unless anyone has any other final questions, I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to be with us this evening. And I hope that you learned something. I hope it was kind of exciting and fun. And it's a beautiful evening and you all still have time to, you have 1 hour to go somewhere and watch the beautiful sunset. I'm sure it's going to be nice. So thank you again. And any final thoughts or items, Tony or Jabra?
No, we thank you for attending, and then feel free to reach out if you have any questions, even after the meeting.
I want to thank everybody who attended this meeting, and hopefully we'll see you at the next meeting to work on the plan. And have a good evening.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now, and the meeting is now adjourned.